There was a time when focus wasn't something you chased, it was simply there. Think back to when you were a kid. You could spend an afternoon building a fort, drawing pictures, taking apart a toy just to see how it worked, or getting completely absorbed in a book. Hours passed without you noticing. Nobody had to remind you to concentrate. Nobody handed you a productivity system. Nobody told you to stay on task. You simply became part of whatever you were doing. So, what happened? Where did that version of us go? Today, most of us sit down with every intention of doing something important, and within minutes we're somewhere else. One notification, one email, one quick search, one message, then another. Before long, 30 minutes have disappeared and somehow we've accomplished almost nothing. It's easy to blame ourselves. I'm distracted. I've lost my discipline. I just need more willpower. But what if the problem isn't you? What if the world has simply become incredibly good at pulling your attention away? And what if there was another way of thinking about focus altogether? That's what brought me to Joel. We live in the most distracted time in human history. Every company wants your attention. Every app is designed to keep you scrolling. Every notification whispers the same message. Look over here. The result isn't just distraction, it's fragmentation. Your attention gets pulled into 100 different directions before breakfast. Then we wonder why sitting quietly with one task feels almost impossible. After enough days like that, something changes. You stop trusting yourself. You begin thinking you've become lazy, or unmotivated, or incapable. But maybe your mind isn't broken. Maybe it's simply exhausted from constantly switching gears. That idea fascinated Joel for years, because instead of asking, "How do I force myself to focus?" he asked something very different. What creates focus in the first place?
People often ask me how I became interested in this work. The truth is, I wasn't looking for better concentration, I was looking for patterns. As I studied different traditions from around the world, something kept appearing. Different cultures, different languages, different centuries. Yet they all described human experience in surprisingly similar ways. They spoke about balance, they spoke about energy, and they often described that energy through the language of the elements, earth, water, fire, air, not as chemistry, but as qualities we experience within ourselves. That caught my attention, because these traditions developed independently of one another, yet they arrived at remarkably similar observations. So I kept studying. One element appeared again and again whenever the conversation turned toward purpose, motivation, and clear direction. Fire. Think about the way we already speak. We say someone has lost their spark. We say a person is on fire. We talk about burning with purpose. Those aren't random expressions. For thousands of years, fire has represented something much deeper than heat. It represents movement, intention, the ability to act. When a fire burns well, its flame naturally reaches upward. It doesn't hesitate. It doesn't scatter. It simply follows its nature. I began wondering, what if that ancient symbol still had something to teach us? Across many traditions, the center associated with will and personal power is the solar plexus. It's where people often place a hand when they talk about courage, or confidence, or determination. That observation became part of my design process. The intention wasn't to create excitement. Most people already have enough stimulation: coffee, energy drinks, endless media, constant noise. I wasn't interested in adding more noise. I was interested in creating a moment of stillness, a point where attention could naturally gather. People usually notice the copper first. Then they ask, why copper? Copper has been valued for thousands of years because of its remarkable conductive properties. But here's the important distinction. Copper isn't the message. It's the medium. Like paper carries ink, or a violin carries music. The material matters. But what matters even more is what you do with it. That's where geometry enters the picture. Nature repeats patterns. Look closely. You'll find similar forms in flowers, pine cones, shells, river currents, even spiral galaxies. Why? Because certain patterns appear again and again wherever order naturally develops. Sacred geometry grew from observing those recurring relationships. When I designed these discs, geometry became part of the conversation, not decoration, not ornament, purpose. Each line, each proportion, each relationship was chosen intentionally. The goal wasn't to create something beautiful. Beauty simply follows good design. The goal was to create something that encourages a moment of focused attention. One demonstration has fascinated people for generations. Take two tuning forks tuned to exactly the same note. Strike one, leave the other untouched. Bring them close together. After a moment, the second fork begins vibrating. No one touched it. That phenomenon is known as sympathetic resonance. I find it a wonderful reminder that systems can influence one another in subtle ways. When people ask me what inspired these discs, I often think of that image, not because a person is a tuning fork, but because it illustrates how patterns can interact without force. My hope was to create something that supports a quiet, intentional practice of bringing attention back to the present.
One thing Joel says over and over is this: the disc isn't the practice, you are. The disc is simply part of the ritual. Before opening your laptop, before checking your phone, before diving into your day, pause. Take a breath. Hold the disc near your solar plexus. Become aware of where you are. Leave yesterday behind. Let tomorrow wait. Just be here. Some people keep it beside their keyboard. Some use the finger positions described in the guidebook. Some include it as part of a broader meditation or mindfulness routine. There isn't one perfect method. The important part is creating a consistent moment where your attention has permission to settle before the demands of the day begin. Ask 10 people about their experience, and you'll probably hear 10 different stories. Some describe feeling calmer before beginning work. Some say the simple act of pausing helps them transition into a focused mindset. Others say the ritual becomes an anchor that reminds them to be intentional throughout the day. Not everyone notices the same thing, and that's okay. The value isn't in chasing dramatic moments. It's in creating space for awareness, consistency, and reflection. Sometimes the biggest changes are the ones you only notice after looking back.
The solar essence disk is one part of a larger collection inspired by the 4 classical elements. Each represents a different quality people often seek to cultivate: earth, water, fire, air. This one is associated with fire, with purpose, direction, and intentional action. Not because it gives those qualities to you, but because it serves as a reminder to reconnect with them.
Maybe the person you used to be isn't gone. Maybe your creativity isn't gone. Maybe your ability to focus hasn't disappeared. Maybe it's simply been buried beneath years of constant interruption. No tool can do your work for you. No object can replace your commitment. But sometimes, a meaningful ritual can remind you to return to yourself. If Joel's philosophy speaks to you, you can learn more about the Solar Essence Disc using the link below. Read about it, explore the ideas, see if they're a fit for your own practice. Because every meaningful day begins the same way. You become present, you choose where your attention belongs, and then you begin. Scan the QR code with your camera or the link is right below. Go get it. Then actually use it.